show. This one's for the warrior, yeah. One time for the warrior. This one's for the warrior, yeah. One time for the beyond the show. This one's for the warrior, yeah. One time.
I'm your host, Tabitha McGee, and welcome to Beyond the Show. This show is taking a deeper dive into subjects that we discussed on Unveiling Sickle Cell Beyond the Pain, which is our TV talk show. Today, we're going to get very personal. We're going to go behind the scenes and share stories that matter. Before we get started, though, we got a quick favor to ask you. If you're enjoying Beyond the Show, I need you to do something for me. Go ahead on and like and share this episode. We want to make sure that you're sharing it with your family, your friends, your colleagues, and any warriors. Tag us at Sickle Cell GA. Your support helps us amplify voices, raise awareness, and build a stronger community around sickle cell advocacy. Our guest today is my good friend, Mapillar Dahn. She is the founder and president of the MTS Sickle Cell Foundation. It's a nonprofit dedicated to raising awareness and providing support for families affected by sickle cell disease. Mapillar's journey is deeply personal. She launched the foundation in 2015 after witnessing the daily struggles of her 3 daughters, all of whom live with sickle cell disease. Welcome to Beyond the Show, Mapillar. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited. The first thing that I'm excited about is having a really good friend in this space. We're both CEOs of our organizations.
Yes.
And to have someone to be able to share our daily struggles of seeing so much struggle inside of the sickle cell space. And so you've just been a voice of reason. You know, you and I share our challenges, we share our successes, but most importantly, we share how important it is for us to come together as collaborative partners and really providing all that we can to help increase the awareness, help increase the education surrounding sickle cell. But today it's about you.
Honestly, I feel like this is a continuation of our long conversations.
It is.
We don't always get to talk because we're really busy.
We're
but
really
when we
busy.
do get on the phone, we talk.
We talk about 2-hour conversations.
Yes,
and it's
common.
always when we're either in the gym or driving home from work.
That's right.
Long hours, late nights. But I would like for you to share your personal journey and motivation behind why you're in this space.
Of course, it's been a long journey. But I often say that I decided to roll up my sleeves and get into advocacy, but mostly support of families because as someone who is knee deep in navigating life with sickle cell disease with my children, I understand the struggles of, not being able to pay your rent because you have been in the hospital for a week or so with your child. And that really does inhibit your ability to take care of not just that child, but the rest of the family.
Absolutely.
Advocating for your kids in the schools, advocating for policies to make things better. So after just looking around and not seeing much support at the time, as you shared in 2015, I decided, you know what? I have to be that change that I'm looking for, looking to see in the sickle cell space. And it has not been easy, but it is a fight worth having on behalf of the community at large.
Absolutely. So in 2015, what made you start MTS Sickle Cell Foundation?
I remember I was traveling a bit because I was sort of a co-editor of a hair magazine. And we were in, I want to say it was Lake Charles.
Okay.
And there was a hair show, and there was an organization there giving out school supplies on behalf of cancer. And at the time, I was like, my kids don't have cancer, but we need school supplies.
I need those school supplies. And they
she's
have
like,
money. They have a lot of money.
right.
Yeah.
And just watching her just advocate on behalf of cancer, I was like, wow. And I always see her at the shows. She's not really there promoting a hair product, but it was always her organization raising awareness and garnering support on behalf of cancer to be able to provide socioeconomic support. And I said, wow, this is something that honestly we could use in sickle cell. But I have to tell you, I was just starting was very, very scary for me.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm already busy with the girls. And as much as I, behind the scenes, because I do marketing, I help with websites for other organizations, flyers, whatnot, whatever they need. I'm that person behind the scenes. Stepping in front of the scenes for sickle cell and leading my own organization, I was very scared because I think part of it too was not wanting to fail because it was so personal.
Yeah.
And even now when it gets really tough, I think that fear also keeps me. It's like I have this mantra in my head: I cannot stop. Like there is no stopping. There's not even an option.
That's right.
Of stopping because there's so much need that exists in this space. And as many of us that are here to just move the needle just a little bit, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. What does MTS stand for?
My three sicklers.
My three
my three
sicklers.
babies who are fighting every day. They're some of the strongest people I know. I am so inspired by them. And ultimately, throughout the years, other people, other warriors have come to inspire me because sickle cell patients, they fight so much.
They fight
with very little support, and they're so resilient. So I'm inspired by all of them. And I tell people, I see myself in every caregiver, and I also see my children in all of the warriors that we support.
I remember when I first met you. So you and I have been in the space at the same time because I came April 2015.
Okay.
Inside of the Sickle Cell Foundation. And so when I was reading your bio, I was like, oh, I didn't know she started 2015. It feels like you've been here forever because of all the great work that you do. And I just want to say, I watch you with your marketing, your editing, your style is so phenomenal. The work that you do is incredible. I would think that you had a very large organization.
Bless your heart.
And when I found out that you was a one-woman band, I was like, what in the ham is going on? Yeah. I was so excited to get to meet you personally and become girlfriends. Yeah. And you inspire me. And that's what we need. We need, to inspire each other and to motivate each other. And you're just doing a bang-up, phenomenal job.
And we work so well together. I remember one of the first things that we did when we started the organization was to help send kids to camp. Yeah. And that first year, you and I, we worked so well together.
We did. Yeah, we worked really well together. And so I guess, there's some synergy there. All of my children are Leos. They're born in August.
Yes.
My dad is August the 1st, so he kicked the whole thing off.
Yeah.
So, August the 1st. And then when I found out you're August the 18th, 2 days after my daughter, I was like, wow.
Makes sense.
That's the same. Yeah, makes sense. And I have a lot of staff members that are Leos. My executive assistant, Lauren, she's August the 9th. Shout out to Lauren. Yeah. And then Alex just celebrated her birthday on my dad's day, which is August the 1st.
Mm-hmm. She and I talked about it.
Yeah. Those lions, they roar. They roar loudly. You guys are fierce and bold. And so, So tell me the details about MTS, Sickle Cell Foundation. Tell me, what does your day-to-day look like?
Oh, my.
Wow.
Oh, that just depressed me just a little bit because there's so much work. We have different events and things like that. And, when you have events, you have volunteers who come out to help ensure that everything is running smoothly. But the day-to-day operations, whether it is, again, putting together a social media campaign, that's me. I found myself in between, of course, the girls' health. And now that I'm married, trying to be a great wife.
To your husband because you're a new wife. October last year, right?
November.
Yes. Last year.
Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. But it's The day-to-day operations never stop. There are times I'm in the middle of taking care of my kids, whether it's surgeries or transfusions. Um, I still get those calls.
Right.
And it's not a, hey, what you got going on? Is everything okay? No, get right into, hey, can I get some help with my rent?
Yeah.
Or whatever they're going through.
Right.
So I don't think we have enough time for me to go through just the what it absolutely entailed, the hard work, but just the day to day. You have a staff. You know what that means.
Well,
Everybody listening,
yes,
right?
ma'am.
If you
Yes,
work in
ma'am.
the office, there's so
Yes.
many people, so many moving parts. But some days, I am the dishwasher. I sweep. I answer calls. People call and they expect to get someone else.
Yes.
And you're the founder? Yes, ma'am. How can I help you? But yeah, it's just whether it is taking meetings with partners, establishing strategic partnerships, fundraising, IT, just everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Everything. I remember when I started here in 2015, it was about 6 or 8 of us.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, how are we going to get all of this work done? Like, we need more people. But of course, you have to have more funding in order to get more people. And, but just the mere thought that you're carrying this, and I know you have volunteers to come out to help you, but.
And the thing is, it's not that I couldn't pay people, very meagerly.
Right.
To do certain things, but then that would take away from the mission. I won't have to help families with their rent, to help with transportation, to help with the different things or scholarships. We just gave out 27 academic scholarships.
I know, congrats. I was so
excited about
Yes.
that. But if I was to pay staff, then that would take away substantially from what we're able to do for the community.
Absolutely. Understood.
I am still optimistic that help will come, but until then, I'm just grateful that I'm blessed with those skill sets to do what we got to do.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
What type of support does MTS provide to the community?
We offer rental assistance, utilities, academic scholarships, as I just shared. We recently started a national transportation initiative, and wow, I knew transportation was a burden. I just did not know to what extent.
Yeah.
And because it was a national initiative, we went through $10,000 in less than 2 months.
Oh, that's right.
And we got to see that patients are having to travel very far for their care. And some of them are across state lines.
Right.
And a lot of our warriors have to have multiple appointments. And as a parent who, I understand what this, because it's not just sickle cell appointments, right? We were covering mental health support, folks going to their eye doctor, dental appointments, and just different things like that. So one of the things that I'm trying to be very intentional of is, just shining a light on that transportation burden that exists in the sickle cell space. And sadly, I have not had the opportunity to get much support with that. So we had to pause for the national sickle cell community, but we're still supporting Georgia residents.
Yeah, because it's so much in Georgia. And when we receive funding, I'm from Pfizer, for transportation, I was blown away. And it's particularly in our rural areas like Columbus, Augusta, Macon, Savannah, Athens now, Hinesville, not knowing that they were traveling, like you said, so far just to get to a major hospital.
Absolutely.
And it was just heartbreaking.
And then there are families or patients who have to do transfusion, like my babies.
Right.
And when you are when you're on that kind of therapy, it's not just the day of transfusion that you need to be there. You need to be there a day or two before to do your labs. And so if you're having to travel so much, that really does become a burden on the family.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think there's so much stigma still surrounding sickle cell disease today?
Oh my. We're going there.
Yeah, we're going there. And we need to talk about it.
I think we have to go back to Africa.
Okay.
Because we are barely saying anything about sickle cell in Africa.
Right.
You know, everywhere I go, I talk about what I do. And the other day, my husband was trying to give me a break because, you know, I braid and I do the girls' hair. But we went to a salon that was being operated by one of my African sisters.
Okay.
And at some point during the night, because it took us way into the night getting my bonus baby's hair done, we started talking about what I do, and that I'm a sickle cell advocate, and that I'm getting ready to go to Uganda and just different things. And she started to share that one of her cousins, who they grew up together, was a warrior, and just sharing about how this warrior is now in her 40s, but she is very small stature. She barely goes anywhere. When she's in pain, there's barely any relief. She said growing up, they had to tie her a lot of times because there's no pain meds like our babies have here, and how they used to make fun of her. And even her speaking to me, she said, I remember because, you know, as a teenager, we didn't want to hang out with her because we didn't want to be seen as weird. So the older her, just looking back at how she was treated, and how even now as a 40-something-year-old, she stays indoors. She does not go out. Never really had a chance to have a life. And I think her story is, it's a great case study for what we see in Africa, because families don't talk about sickle cell disease. When the child has sickle cell, they hide it.
They hide it.
It becomes, I don't know if it's like a cursed family. People see it as that, or not wanting to tarnish your bloodline to say, oh, you can't marry. And there's so much around it.
Right.
But we have to go back there, because even here in the U.S., I have met African families who, as much as they're in the U.S. getting the best of care, their surroundings do not know that their children have sickle cell.
Wow.
And it's the worst thing we could do for a condition like this.
Yes.
It's not talk about it. We're not trying to get in people's bedrooms and tell you what you can and cannot do, but just that awareness, and encouraging people to know their status and what that means. Because some people know their status. They don't know how sickle cell is inherited, and that when two parents have the trait, that 25% chance of having a baby with sickle cell, just that knowledge can help people make decisions about their procreation. But we're not doing even that.
Right.
And so I think the stigma, I mean, there are racial undertones to it, but I think it goes back to just our community for the most part. For the longest, we were okay with suffering in silence. And it was partially due to just feeling like nobody cared.
Right.
It can feel that way because we have to fight for everything.
Right.
When we go to advocate, it's like you have to have this armor on.
Right.
Right. And sometimes even then you get defeated. And as a patient who is going through this, or as a caregiver, it can be tiring to the point where you just feel like, hey, I know this life. I think I can deal with it. I'll just deal with it on my own.
That's heartbreaking.
I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. I mean, the stigma surrounding, going back to Africa, where we've had to hide it, because of the mistreatments. And I think that is one of the largest reasons there's so much stigma around it, because people are still hiding.
Yeah.
They don't like to tell anyone that they have sickle cell disease because of the stereotypes associated with it, the way they're still being treated, even here in the United States today.
Absolutely.
When they go to hospitals, there's an NIH protocol in place telling them how they should triage our sickle cell warriors, because when they're not receiving oxygen to their bodies, a major organ is shutting down, right? And then sickle cell doesn't have a look.
It does not.
It doesn't have a look. You know, we have some beautiful young men and women that have sickle cell, and you look at them, you think everything is perfectly fine on the outside, the external. But then I think about that, Mapillar, because how many of us are suffering and going through things, but we always wear a smile on our face, right? We are always wearing a mask because we really don't want people to know what's going on with us, right? And so growing up in our childhood, we was always told, what goes on in this house stays in this house.
I hate that.
Right. Don't tell anybody outside, right? And so many times you do suffer in silence, even just inherently, you know, as a child, we suffer in silence. Our men are told, boy, don't you cry. You know, the women are told, you know, don't cry, be strong. You know, you're strong, you can handle anything. And then those same people end up committing suicide, end up suffering in silence, like you said, because they've always kept everything inside. Yeah,
and I think as you and I have spoke about, we help establish newborn screening in Uganda, which is why I'm going. And one of the issues that have came up over and over is when the babies are screened and the parents get that diagnosis, a lot of times they don't accept it.
Yeah.
Even when you go ahead and confirm, that they don't accept it, they don't come back to care, it's like probably they know of other people with sickle cell disease and they know of the struggles that they go through. And so I'm sure they take the holistic route.
Right.
But even when you have support coming in, like the initiative that we have embarked on in partnership with Sickle Forward and Serafina Sickle Cell Society, to where not only are we testing and confirming that your baby has sickle cell, but we're also entering you into care so that you have access to some kind of option, right? And we're giving them guide on how to manage sickle cell, educating them. Even then, I'm hoping that moves the needle, because to their point, it's crazy to tell me that my child has a condition that is so deadly. In Africa, upwards of 80%, 70 to 80% of babies born do not make their 5th birthday.
That's right.
So for you to tell me that my baby has this condition and not be willing to support me with their care, it's insane, especially given folks don't have the ability to. So I'm really hoping that is something that we see a shift in. But a lot of people, they don't accept that diagnosis. And we go back to the stigma of it.
Yeah. You know, you said something that you're going, and I think it's such a phenomenal thing that you're doing by going to Uganda, taking newborn screening. You know, of course, here at the foundation, we have been doing newborn screening since the early 80s. And we're still very challenged with that. And the challenge is when we are reaching out to the parents, most times the information that's coming from the state of Georgia that sends us the SINs, that's what they call it, the information is incorrect, the number is incorrect, the address is incorrect. And so there's so many people still out that have sickle cell trait that we have not been able to get in touch with. And then why I'm making this point is because I've met so many people that have a child with sickle cell disease, and they say, oh, I knew I had the trait. I knew I had the trait, but no one had educated them on that 25% chance that every pregnancy you may have a child with sickle cell disease.
Yeah. There's a misconception that it skips generations.
Yes.
Even within families where trait or disease is present, that is something that has just been left to fester, and that is so dangerous.
It's very,
because
very
as someone
dangerous.
who's had 3 pregnancies, 3 births, all 3 of my kids came out with sickle cell.
Yeah.
So I think if I can be that poster child to be like, listen, no, that's a lie.
Right, that's
with
a lie.
every pregnancy, the odds are the same.
The odds are the same. And then what's interesting is that they've taken mandatory blood testing out of premarital. And so before, if you go and apply for your license, you had to have a blood test, so you'll know what you have, you know what he has. And now they have removed that. And so because of that, we do have people getting married not knowing their status. And so that is the one call to action. If you don't know your sickle cell status today, I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you feel that, oh, I don't need to know. You need to know because it doesn't skip generations. And so you may be a grandmother that had have a child or a son or a daughter. They're thinking about having children. And if they have sickle cell trait, they may be marrying someone with sickle cell trait. They need to know their status because they can have a 25% chance of having sickle cell disease. And it's very chronic, it's painful, it's inherited. But we need you to know. So come over here to Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia and get tested.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even with the trait, there are certain things that outside of procreation, you know, a lot of our babies are doing sports.
Right.
So they, and kudos to the athletic organizations. Now, as part of that screening, they do ask you, do you have the sickle cell trait? However, a lot of the athletic directors or people who are working with our kids, they don't quite understand why that question is asked. If a child has the trait, we're not saying they can't play sports, but you need to make sure you're not overexerting them.
Absolutely.
You need to make sure they're taking breaks and they're staying hydrated, or it could be fatal.
It could be fatal. And as a matter of fact, WSB TV called me up to do an interview about that very thing. They had some recruits for the police department, and a young man died. And come to find out, he had sickle cell trait. And you know, that's a very brutal program that they're going through, conditioning, you know, to become a fireman or a police officer. And then, although the NCAA, they're now ensuring that the children are tested, what we're finding out is some of them are kind of cheating on the test. They're doing a sickle dex, not the full electrophoresis. And that's very important for them to do the full sickle cell test, not a sickle dex, because even with the sickle dex, it doesn't tell you what genotype you have with sickle cell disease, and it's not telling you what type of traits you have either. And those are all critical. And like you said, there are some conditions we need them to be aware of. High altitudes, you know, not going up in a helicopter because it's not pressurized, you know, like a plane.
And there are certain cancers that we're predisposed to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we need them to know, everyone needs to know their status. Everybody needs to know their status. So ways we can change the narrative.
That's so broad. Give me a little more.
So how can what we're doing change the narrative that, well, there's a couple of things. So let me talk about the fact that, you know, we're called community-based organizations, right? And most people, when they hear the word community-based organization, they automatically think that you don't have the capability, they don't think you have the education or the skill set in order to run a very efficient and effective organization. So that's one narrative that we need to change. And so how do we
they get to see us.
They get to see us.
You know,
like,
we ain't got to say much. We just got to perform.
Exactly. We have to perform. And that's what you and I are about. Like, we don't have to do a lot of talking. We're going to let our work speak for ourselves.
Absolutely.
You know, when I was creating the Sickle Cell Sanctuary, everyone's like, wait a minute. What did she do? When did that open? Because I held my cards close because I'm very cognizant and aware that people would try to talk you out of your dream, out of your vision. And I believe in that. I believe that, you know what? I'm not going to talk about it. We're just going to go and do the work, and you'll see the impact that we're making from the work that we do. So how do we change the narrative that people think that we can't make a difference?
By making a difference and by being tunnel vision on your calling. You're right. People will try to talk you out of what it is you're trying to do, whether that's because they feel threatened or are being led by a competitive spirit. For whatever their reasons are, they will try to talk you out of it. So just being tunnel vision and not listening to the noise in the market, right? Because we're all in this space, and there are some who ascribe to the school of thought that there's only a certain amount of market share. And if this person is doing the same thing that I'm doing, they're going to take some of my market share. But honestly, I feel like there's power in unity.
Absolutely.
The community wins when there's more services available and when we work together. So just by being excellent in what you do
Yeah.
is how we change the narrative.
Right. Okay.
Because we can't control how people feel
Right.
or what their preconceived notions are
Yes.
about us, but we can control how we perform
Absolutely.
and our output. And so,
And we're performing very well.
Period.
Period. I remember when I came into the space, and particularly when I was selected as the CEO, I did feel bullied, and I felt that I wasn't welcome in the space. I was so much younger. People felt that because I hadn't worked inside of the nonprofit space, oh, we don't know who she is. What is she going? What does she know? But what they didn't know, no one ever asked, what's your story? Why are you here? And they would have found out that I've been advocating all my life because I had a sickly son who had epilepsy, and had to advocate for my son. And unfortunately, I lost my son when he was 20 due to epilepsy, and he passed away. And so I did have a lot to bring to the table. I had all of that education, that knowledge, that experience as a caregiver.
Yeah, it's the same muscle memory.
It's the same muscle memory. So I'm just thankful that I had you. You really helped me navigate in this space.
Let's talk about that meeting we first had. I did not know you had become the executive director. I said, why is Tabitha wanting to meet? Wait, does she need a job? And then when you told me that you were now, I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing, because I've always just believed that we need to be a lot closer as a community.
Right.
There's so many of us doing different things in our different silos.
Right.
But, I am really grateful for something that you've done since you became the executive director of the Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia, and that is to bring us closer.
Yes.
Mend those bridges.
Yes.
And as someone who has, and I'm just going to say this here.
Yes.
And you know this, we've talked about it in the past. Someone who has felt slighted in the past, I appreciated you reaching out and you being intentional.
Yeah.
It hasn't always been perfect. I'm sure it hasn't been easy, because you had to work through something that had become, this was part of the culture.
Right.
And trying to bring the whole team along. Like, hey, this is a new day. We want to be more collaborative. We want to bring the community together, because we really do win when we work together.
And look how we've been winning. We're sharing our client pool. We're sharing our resources. And as a result of that, the Sickle Cell Warriors winning. Because now they have
more
all
people.
of us. Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
So I completely adore you for that, and so appreciative. And in my meetings, when people are talking about the different CBOs, I said, listen, in Georgia, we work together.
We work together. We're one now.
We don't have those problems.
We don't have those problems any longer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mapillar. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing your heartfelt story. I continue to support you. You continue to inspire me. And I can't wait till you get back from Uganda so you could tell me all about it. And then we're going to have to pull out our calendars. We have to make us a date once a month. Well, maybe not once a month. Maybe once every other month.
We can try.
We can try. Because we're so busy. But we can try. And we can, anything that we set our mind to, we want to make happen, we can make that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
It.
Well, thank you again for being here. Thank you so much, Mapillar, for being so open and honest with us about your journey today. I know it's deeply personal and not always easy to talk about, but just your words and your encouragement, again, is so inspiring. And we want to thank you for being here. Thank you so much for helping us spread awareness and education about sickle cell disease. Thank you for supporting Beyond the Show. Thank you for supporting Unveiling Sickle Cell Beyond the Pain. Well, again, before you leave, go ahead on and like it, share it, tag us at Sickle Cell GA. And just remember, there is always hope in every heartbeat. I'll talk to you guys later. See you next week.